Hey y'all, I'm Paige Feldman. I'm a writer and director, and here on this YouTube channel, I'm documenting the making of my debut feature as a writer-director. It's called Back to You, and it's a contained romantic comedy, and today I am so excited to report that I am finished with revision number 7. Okay, I'm not 100% finished yet. What I have done is written in all my changes on this lovely paper copy of the script. You can see as I flip through there. And what I have to do next is type them in to my draft on my computer. Once I type those in, it'll take a few hours, then I'm done. And what I'm gonna do after this draft is sit and wait. I'm gonna let the script marinate because the next step is to do a table read, but not before the WGA strike resolves, and now the SAG-AFTRA strike, which just began a few days ago, resolves itself as well. I am in full support of all of the labor movements, all of these wonderful creatives getting what they deserve and ensuring the future of acting and writing as viable professions for anybody from any background, from any place in the world, and without having to worry about, getting a second job in order to support yourself between gigs. It's so important. I am here for it. Let's go WGA. Let's go SAG. Hot labor summer. Yes. Today, I want to take a step back from the future plans and go into what I'm doing currently, which is what I said is typing in my changes. That's my full-on, immediate next step. Now, I know last week my video was all about starting this revision, and yeah, it only took me a week. I did about a little over 15 pages per day, and that's because this draft, it wasn't like a full-on rewrite. I wasn't looking for character arcs to tighten or changing scenes or looking at voices. I was looking at the script as a piece of writing on its own and trying to find ways to make it flow better, to cut some stuff, tighten and polish. Now I did have a short outline of things to look at, so the most important things are highlighted in yellow here. But really, as I was going through, it's all about making what is there better. And what I intend to do better, because it's all on the page at this point, which is a really exciting place to be in a script, in a rewrite. So it only took me a week. I have to type in changes now, and I'm really excited to see how many pages I've cut in this tighten and polish. And I figured this week's video, because I'm all about transparency and because this is my next step, I would take you through, I'm gonna type in these changes from pages 1 to 12, which takes us from the beginning up until the meet cute, and is a little bit under 10% of the script, or a little bit over 10% of the script, because it's at 117 pages currently. So take you through it, and I will talk to you about my process and why I cut certain things that I did, why I rewrote certain things that I did, and hopefully this will be fun and interesting, and you'll obviously get to see a little bit of this script that I've written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten times 7. So without further ado, I'm gonna open my little notebook and then jump on in to Screenshare. All right, so I have my script right here on my desk. I'm left-handed, so I like having it on my left. I don't know if that's a left-handed thing or not, but that's how it is. I have my new draft here. I already saved it. Anatomy of a Love Song, as I've said before, is an alternate title for Back to You that I'm trying out. And it also is just easier to number the drafts if I don't change the title. So that's what that's about. So I'm gonna jump into this, and as I get to any interesting things to say, I'm not gonna talk you through any cut, because the first cut I have is, or the change is changing this when to as. It's verbiage, who really cares? So, I'm gonna type, you can watch me, and I will stop when there's something interesting to say. Getting a little bit closer so we don't, I don't get fully into the shade here when I turn to the side. But this right here, this orphan, all the time in the world, and then so it's now. We're gonna pull this shade down so hopefully I don't keep getting backlit. All right, that should be better. We are all... Blinds are down. The framing's right now. Okay, we're all ready to go. And I want to talk about these two, this world and this it's now. These are like, I forget if it's a widow or an orphan. That's the one word on one line that you try to like tighten the sentence before to get the word back all on one line so that it's nice and clean and all that. And it's driving me nuts that I didn't do that on this page. And now I know tighten and polish is the name of the game here. And I'm focusing a lot on tighten. And polish kind of like, it kind of goes hand in hand with it, especially when I am trying to cut pages. I ultimately would love to get this script down to like 107 at maximum. And we're at 117 right now. But there's such a thing as too much tighten and too much polish, because if I were to, I could just say maybe not all the time and then take away in the world. And I would get it's now onto the second line and it would look nicer. But also all the time in the world is referencing young in love with all the time in the world. And that callback, that repetition, that's very much, it's emblematic of my own writing style. And while I'm sitting here revising this script that I'm going to direct, so tone-wise, in terms of communicating to the director, I'm set. Even if I were to delete all that, it doesn't change the fact that this script, this piece of writing, is the document for telling the story right now. And I don't need to just tell the story to myself as a director. I need to tell it to the actors who I ultimately cast, to the production designers, to the investors who are going to give me money for this script. I want them to feel not only the tone of the story and the flow, but also just like my own voice and what I bring to it. While this all the time in the world is not, like a signature type of line from me, this kind of repetition is a signature of my writing style. This more poetic, more prosy description, which I do try to limit as I go through, and I have cut quite a bit of it, but I don't want to cut all of it out because then I cut out my own personality. I cut out my voice, what I bring to this, and the, whimsical romance that I inject underneath all of the humor into everything I write. So in a tighten and polish, there are times to tighten. There are times to, cut superfluous words. And there are times to just let your voice sing through. And especially, we're only on page one, especially the first few pages, if you can get someone into your head right away, you can keep them there. And you can be a little bit more sparse as time goes on, because then they're starting to get to know you through your script. They're starting to get to feel who you are. And so if you're a little bit terser later on, they already know what you bring. But the beginning of the script, it teaches people how to read your script and teaches people who you are. If you're on this step, like I am, and are wondering what to cut or trying to tighten to hone, make sure that you still leave room for creative expression, especially at the beginning. It's really important. Okay. Now, back to typing in, for real. Page 2. This part that I'm typing in changes just now, this giant wall of description, I'm cutting a bunch from it because I feel like I've over-described, and I don't necessarily need all of this to get across the fact that there are people, they're at a reception after a funeral, they're at a shiva, and as much as I can see this in my mind's eye, as the director, I can put this forward. Because right now it's, the amount of text is hindering the storytelling. We have probably a quarter of a page, maybe a third of a page dedicated to describing this scene, which this room and everything that happens is important, but it's not even the place, the main place that this story is taking place. And as I'm typing in, I'm doing a little bit of editing that's not on the page because I'm just trying to like lift things up a little bit. And this part is very annoying because this line, there's like a few lines right down there, but this line on the top of this page is slightly too long to push it back up. But let's see if I haven't even edited that line on the next page. So it won't go up this time, but there's always next time. About these brackets real quick. I use brackets because I've found in working with actors, if you start, because this line is not even going to be spoken really or heard until this use. And a lot of times, typically, you'll see screenwriters just do ... in the remainder of the line. But what I love to do is add the beginning of the line, or most often the end of the line, especially if someone gets interrupted, in brackets, so that the actor can read it and know exactly what their intention is, where their starting point is. Even if nobody hears it, the actor will know and they will be able to communicate that in the flow of how they're speaking. So that's what I do about these brackets, and I wanted to just move them up a little bit so that use the house to prep for your meeting is something that is telegraphed very clearly in the performance, and so that the audience can understand it, because one note I got was that it wasn't 100% clear what the house had to do with anything until we got to the house. So a quick bracket change, and it's fixed. Page 6 has nothing to change. Impressive. Alright, so I'm just deleting this last whole portion of this scene. In and outlines are something that I struggle with. I struggle in terms of starting scenes too early, ending scenes too late, and that's something that I was looking for as I was doing this revision. Oh wow, that's nice. That's a nice little jump right there. Sometimes it feels weird to not have people say goodbye when they exit a room or hello when they enter a room, but that's something that we have to get rid of. Especially in comedy, where timing is so important, where ending on a good punchy line is way more important than necessarily ending on a place where it feels like there's a bow tied. And Mitch and Alana's an important character, but she's a side character. Mitch is the main character, and Alana's comment on work on your delivery, as opposed to Mitch saying like, well, let me know if you need anything. Like this, work on your delivery, work on your confidence, work on your ability to communicate your feelings. That's something Mitch is dealing with in this entire film. And so that's almost like a theme statement for her character that we end the scene on, which I like. And it also is a bit of a joke because Mitch is saying like, I'll write a kick-ass song. And Lana's like, okay, girl, please, work on it. So it's a much better outline, and I'm able to find stuff like this after I've written, and I'm reading just for cutting, just for pace and tone and polishing and tightening. So I'm really glad that I cut that. It was a good choice. And now we're already on page 8, which is pretty impressive. Now we're getting to the desert house. So this is the main setting for the story. And one thing that someone in my writing group pointed out to me, which I'm so grateful for, is that we have this whole, I'm going to scroll through before I start typing in changes, have this whole montage of Mitch looking at everything in the house, And then she puts her guitar on the bed, and then she goes into the house and writes. And those are 3 important scenes, but my writing group member said, it feels redundant. Why can't we just see a montage of Mitch writing as we see parts of the house? And I don't know why I never thought of that, but it's a brilliant note. And so I'm going to be consolidating this scene with this time lapse, and then this part here, this scene has been in the script from the beginning. And like so many things that are in the script from the beginning, it doesn't belong anymore. Mitch is somewhat of a different person. I've envisioned her character in a certain way at the beginning, and now it's the same insecurity, but a different facet of it. And this setup right here was for who Mitch was when I first started writing. And as much as I like this whole, like, she puts her stuff down and then the guitar falls and it's just kind of foreboding, it doesn't fit with anything that's happening, including the fact that Mitch is really focused and really being great at writing until Ash comes. So I love the foreboding nature of it. I am going to save it because I think it's also funny. I think it could work if I maybe go a different way, or it's a scene that maybe I could revisit in some way, but it ultimately doesn't fit with the tone of the piece right now. And it's a hard decision to make because I do love this scene, but making that decision is going to ultimately give me, well, I can see exactly how many. It's going to give me 3/8 of a page, so half a page almost back. So I'm going to open my extras document because I always have an extras document. I started in draft 3, and now we're at 17 pages of scenes that I have, and lines even, that I have cut and saved. And I am going to, before I do any of this consolidation of those 2 scenes, I'm just gonna take that out, put it in the extras. It's saved, and here we are. And now I'll show you, I I lettered all of these things, and then I have over here put them in order with transitional other shots between them. So I'm going to type up this whole new scene, which should be condensed, and hopefully this 117 number will drop down. Sometimes it doesn't. So that's the one thing that Fade-In frustrates me, is that they sometimes don't update the number of pages you have, but it'll be a fun surprise when we get to the end. So I'm going to do this now.
She goes her own way, like I don't give a damn, girl. And my God, she owns it. So many heartbreaks, goes back to 2014, and I think that she knows it. And if you've seen her, I know that you would believe it, 'cause I know that you'd want her to. Yeah, I do. Everyone's taking their shot, but missing out on the cut. I think she knows that. She drives them crazy when she's looking like that. The way she's moving makes them want it so bad. It's the attention that we wish that we had. Yeah, it's almost cruel, 'cause I want her to. Oh yeah, I'm running in circles just to make her react. My heart is racing, yeah, I want her so bad. I wanna kiss her, but I know for a fact that she's way too cool. But I want her to. Oh yeah, ripped skinny jeans and tattoos on both her ankles. 21 Pilot t-shirt, that's the stuff. Goddamn, she's so fly, knows how to write a good song, at least better than this. 'Cause if you've seen her, I know that you would believe it, 'cause I know that you'd want her to. Yeah, I do. Come on and give it a shot, but you'll be missing the cut. I think she knows that. She drives them crazy when she's looking like that. The way she's moving makes them want it so bad. Gets the attention that we wish that we had. Yeah, it's almost cruel, 'cause I want her to. Oh yeah, I'm running in circles just to make her react. My heart is racing, yeah, I want her so bad. I wanna kiss her, but I know for a fact that she's way too cool. But I want her to. Oh yeah. ones taking their shot, showing all that they got, but they'll be missing the cut.
All right, we're done with that giant rewrite and combination of those two scenes plus the removal of one scene. And we have now a tight 5/8 of a page montage. Easy. Well, not easy. It took me a minute to figure that out and also to mourn the loss of the scene in between, but we have a 7-shot montage here. And we are at the bottom of page 8, whereas this whole situation with Mitch writing her song is on this page right here, which is page 9. If you can see. It wants to focus on my face. It says page 9. And now we are, because I'm going through the first 12 pages, we're on page 10 of the on-paper draft. So I'm going to keep cutting, keep typing in the changes, see what comes up. I'm just going to make a note here. One thing that's great to do is find some good active verbs. I've deleted the phrase runs back and am replacing it with retreats, which is slightly more compact, but definitely much more visually impactful. So that's something that I'm looking at. Even when it doesn't necessarily help me lose a line, it helps me communicate my vision a lot more clearly. Active verbs. Yay. All right, here's a great, I'm gonna get rid of an orphan. I think it's an orphan that's just on the line. So first of all, a beat. A beat is a great placeholder word when you want a pause between two lines of dialogue or for the actors to take a breath. However, it's not strictly needed right here because we have right afterwards Mitch studies him, and Mitch is the next person saying the line. So she needs to wait. She needs to study him. She needs to think this thought. He didn't say Kaddish at the Shiva in italics before she responds. So there's enough direction here for a beat that's implied that you don't need a beat. And there we go. And look, I'm good. Popped right back up onto this page. We've cut a line from this, actually 2 lines because Ash's name is 1 line as well. And then down here we have Mitch pauses, which I'm also going to delete. Not because there is any other indication that Mitch should pause, but because I'm thinking about how the rhythm of this scene is going to work. Mitch challenges him. If you need help covering the mirrors, just want to say Kaddish with you, I'm good. And Mitch, she already knows what the outcome of this challenge is going to be. Either he's going to say yes, and she's like, okay, he is grieving, or he's going to say no, and he's hiding something, and she needs to find out what. So she's ready to go. She has her defenses up. She's ready to fire. She doesn't need to pause. She doesn't need to think about what she's going to say. I also think that this is a different iteration of Mitch, one who is a little bit more timid with Ash. And so this pause doesn't feel natural. Now, if I'm working with an actor and we decide the pause feels natural, we can add that back in. We can take that beat. But it doesn't need to be dictated in the script, because if you're reading it, I want you to read it in the flow that it's going to make the most sense as it is on paper. So that goes away as well. Have one more tiny scene at the bottom of page 12, and it's actually a complete scene for page 12, so I'm gonna go ahead and make those changes too, and then we can take a look at how many pages I've cut, all that good stuff. Okay, and that takes us to the bottom of page 12 on this lovely draft. I know we're at the top of page 12 in this document. So first of all, let's see how many pages that I cut. Scroll down to the bottom. We are still on page 117 at the end, which is a little disheartening. I was really hoping that getting through these first 12 pages, cutting all of this stuff, we would go to page 116 at least, and then I would say, look at that, a little over 10% done, and I already have a page cut, and at this rate, blah, 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 I'll be able to get to my 107 goal. That's not the case. What we did cut is probably about, I'll actually even open up this document, my script at page 117. So initially page 117 looked like that, about 7/8 of a page. And here we are now, we're probably about 5/8 of a page here. So we cut 2/8 of a page, we cut a quarter of a page. If every 10 pages we cut a quarter of a page at 117 pages, let's just go 120 pages for math's sake, because why be completely accurate about this? It's just an estimate. So a quarter of a page every 10 pages. We'll probably cut 3 pages. It'll probably get to 114 at the end of this, which would probably be a little bit disappointing if that's all I cut, but it is what it is. And I will be able to continue to cut more and more. And also, I'll be able to see how it feels and how it flows next time I really work on it is going to be after a table read. So there'll probably be some pretty obvious places to cut once I hear it. Because one thing I didn't get a chance to talk about in all of this cutting is what nonverbals actors can bring to a script. I write a lot of dialogue, but I also, when I love working with actors, and the reasons that I want to do this table read is to hear what all these lines sound like when people are saying them. Because sometimes you don't necessarily need 5 words, you need 2. Or in one case, I actually did cut a line because of a nonverbal, or get part of a line. Here, on page 2, Ash says 3 minutes. Initially, this line was 3 minutes, okay. You can get okay across in the words 3 minutes. You can say 3 minutes. And that okay is implied. Or you can say 3 minutes. Like, are you kidding? You're not going to only take 3 minutes for that. So much can change, and so much can depend on the artists who are going to be bringing this story to life, apart from me, once I get some people involved. That is why next steps involve the table read, involve getting actors, because there are some things that I'm going to be able to cut when I hear how it all works. I can probably hear the outlines better when someone else is saying it than when I am sitting here reading my own words, enamored with my own cleverness. Gotta stop the navel gazing, gotta get realistic. But before I do all that, I still have to finish typing in 90% of my changes. And then put this away, let it go, and be in support of Hot Labor Summer here. So if you have any questions about my revision process or about what I cut, what I didn't cut, and why, please leave me a comment. I'd be happy to respond to you. Like this if you enjoyed getting a little bit of a look at my revision process. And next week I'll be back with a whole summary of how the revision went, how many pages I actually cut, and how I'm feeling now that the script is going to bed for a while, because I've been working on this guy for about a year now, and I'm gonna have to find some other place to put my energy, because just because the script is taking a break doesn't mean we're taking a break from doing all of the behind the scenes work necessary to be ready to make this into a film. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you here next week with more of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of. Bye.